This is Eric Rutan of Cannibal Corpse. You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast with Andrew McKay Smith.
G'day everybody, welcome to the show. I've got a superb conversation to share with you featuring Juan Montoya, who is an artist and a musician par excellence. Now, I actually met Juan in Walt Grace Vintage in Miami. We had a chat and we decided to continue the conversation. Here it is. Now, throughout this conversation, we talk about Juan's professional recording and touring career with Torche and Killer Be Killed, his art pursuits, and of course, we're both huge rock and metal appreciators, so we talk all about that as well. So here he is, ladies and gents, Juan Montoya.
You got a cool pad.
Yeah, it's my man code.
Music Man back there.
Yeah, that's the... I don't know whether you've seen this one before, but this is the 30th anniversary edition of the
The Stingray.
Yeah, the Stingray. Can you see the headstock? It's gold hardware.
Dude, yeah, matching color, gold. That's really cool.
It's very, it's very solid, man. It's been my war horse for like a decade now. And I literally just replaced it. You know the brand Status from the UK?
Yeah.
I've just replaced it with a Status, a 5-string headless bass.
Cool.
Just to see how it goes. But yeah, no, it's good stuff. It's good stuff, that one.
And what do you have in the background? What's that art in the background, like behind?
My mate from Chile, yeah. So I've got he's Australian now. He's become a citizen, but he's from Chile originally. But he does all of my artwork. He does all of my artwork, including, I don't know whether I can sort of get it up here, but can you see that? Yeah.
Yeah, that's really freaking cool.
Yeah, that's my main. I'll just try and get it. There we go. It's AI, so it's going to go in and out without me telling it to. But yeah, I just trust him. I just say, man, I just need artwork for the podcast or whatever, and he goes, okay. A bit like I just do.
It looks almost like it looks oil, but is it acrylic or is it oil?
I think it's oils. No, he did it in oil. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Oils is a little bit more tedious. You have to be very patient with it. When you start painting, it takes a while for it to dry up. So you have to do a little bit and then wait till it dries and then add the final touches. Just takes a while. Acrylic can dry quick.
I would have paid thousands of dollars if I didn't have a mate like him. It's just a situation where we've been mates now for so long that he just did it for me and he never asks for anything in return. So I just take he and his family out for dinner and stuff.
Yeah. How's the background look? Does it look all right? It's kind of messy right now, but this is my little library and just practice room.
You got your guitars and everything else organised. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Man cave there. Nice.
And a mini Marshall stack.
Yeah.
A friend of mine in junior high had the red, like a white one, almost like a Randy Rhoads, but like a mini stack. And I always wanted one. And then I was able to find one like 20 years ago for cheap. It's not the original ones. The original ones are worth a lot now, but it's pretty cool. I know Zach Wild had one that had the bullseye design all over it. I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about the Pantera reunion with Zach?
I mean, I think it's cool. If they got the blessing from the families, from Dime and the brothers' family. So, I mean, it's cool. It's a tribute, I didn't get to see it. I wanted to see it. It's just, I don't know. I mean, Zach's really good, but to play those songs are difficult because Dime just has such a unique style. So, but I mean, if they get it close, I know Charlie Bonatti is an amazing drummer. I've been into him since I was a little kid. So it's just it's cool to see him up there and be able to play these massive shows. So I'm like happy for Charlie. And Zach's cool. I mean, Zach and Dime were friends, so no one else better than to do that than Zach.
Yeah, no, you're right. They're coming here next month, and I've decided not to go and see it just because I don't disagree with the philosophy behind it, and I know they're paying tribute to the brothers. I just want to have the memory of the original as opposed to.
You got to see him a bunch during the years.
No, truth be told, I never saw them once, but this is going back, 30 years ago for us now, 25 years ago. I never had any money back in those days. Who did when you're 20? And when they came through town, the tickets were $60 or $70, which was comparably, it was a lot less, but we were earning a lot less money back then too. So I didn't have any disposable income, and they came through twice, but 2 or 3 times. And I really wanted to go and see them in 1996, I think it was, off the back of one of my favorite albums, which is Great Southern Trendkill. I love that album.
Yeah.
Just love it.
Yeah, it's a great
experimental
album.
Yeah, it's dynamic. I know it was recorded. Phil recorded it separately in New Orleans in Trent Reznor's studio, but it just has a magic about it that I think the other albums don't. So I don't know. I've got no issue. It's like a Slayer thing. What do you think about that?
The Slayer thing. I mean, I like Kerry King, and I like the people he chose for his project. But then all of a sudden, like, the Slayer news came out, so it was kind of like, whoa. It was like, I don't know if it squashed Kerry's solo plans, but I mean, Slayer itself is so massive, and he's been dying to get it back. He didn't want it, like, from what I read, he didn't want to quit the band. He still had it in him, but I think Tom was just kind of over touring and being away from his family. I mean, it's kind of tough, especially, Spanish families. It's funny because Spanish families, like, when they're kids, when someone's siblings and everything like that, and when they turn 18, they're not really forced to move out. In the United States, you're like 17 and you're like, when you're 18, you're out of here. Yeah. You got to move out. But Spanish families, it's funny. The family, the kids reach 18, and all of a sudden they add wings to their house. They add extra rooms and stuff, and then they get married and go, oh no, we'll build something for you in the back. So it's just like, they're not really. It's like the culture in the U.S. is just like, turn 18, you're out of here. In Spanish families, we'll add to the house, and everybody can live here. It's funny. So yeah, I mean, Tom Araya, it's like, I imagine, like, he's really close to his family, and he has kids. He just wants to spend time with them. Before he gets too old. Yeah. I mean, but I know he had some health issues with his back and stuff like that. And I spoke to him one time, and he's like, dude, I can't headbang anymore. And I go, dude, but the way you stand there and look at people, it's like so wicked. You look like a fucking wizard. You just kind of like stare at them while you're playing. Yeah. He's like a Latin Gandalf, isn't he, these days? Yeah. It's really cool. And it's funny because it's just like, I did some artwork for his brother, Johnny Araya, a long time ago, and they came through Atlanta, and I went with like a friend, and she's like, damn, you and Tom look so much alike. Like, you guys all look related. It was so funny. That's like, I've had people confuse me for him too. It was so weird.
Do you get that
drunk people at a show? They see me walking around. They're like, girls go up to me and they're like, hey,
Yes, I am Tom Mariah. You should say yes, maybe not, but
I know some of these girls were kind of scary.
Yeah, the Slayer girls are scary. There's no doubt about that. Yeah.
The Slay goes.
Yeah. Do you get what about with the shop? Do you get people coming in there and mistaking you for other people? I mean, the reality is, I'll do a bit of an introduction, but to the when I put the show together, but you have actually been on stages with some pretty fucking cool people.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of low key. It's funny because a lot of people in Miami don't really know. They don't really have an idea of some of the things I've been lucky to do. I've been lucky, and it's weird because it kind of makes regular life a little bit kind of boring. It's so weird. I think people, musicians that get to do all this cool stuff, and it all happens so fast. I mean, it's like you're on a tour, and when you're on tour, it feels like you've had like a year's worth of amazing Saturday nights, like amazing weekends. And it's all like weekday to weekday. So it can be overwhelming. It can exhaust people if they go a little too hard partying. Hold on, let me get something that's a little bit more solid to hold the camera. Yeah, it's just like, I think your endorphins, what your brain can handle, it's just a little too much. That's why a lot of these, when you're traveling and you come home from a tour and you've had all these amazing weekends and things happen to you, then all of a sudden that's where some people get depressed because you use up everything. It's like, that's like the people that take ecstasy, that it just like,
Yeah.
all at once. And then the following weekend, it's like this come down and you're like, I mean, yeah, I've had a lot of fun. I wish I could remember all of it because it just happened so fast. Like I would have to, luckily one tour, I took a camera and I was able to record, like we did over 20 countries in a month. So imagine trying to remember all that, some people, when they take a vacation or something, they'll stay in one place for a couple of days or so, or at least a week. So they're able to absorb that, and then they go back home and then they work, but then, they have that fond memory. It's just hard to grasp a lot of it. You have to either write a journal or just take notes every day,
Yeah. Are you still part of the Killer Be Kills, the circle?
I mean, I still talk to the guys, but I think they just they're doing it more. When I was hired more as a session player. I did the leads on the first record, and they wanted me to do a lot of the textured stuff, like a lot of the cool intros, a lot of the spacey stuff. Because I'm not really like a lead player. I'm more of like a soundscape type guy. I could shred and everything like that, but I'm not. I'm more of like, I'm trying to find like weird sounds. I think I kind of got into that when I started listening to Aphex Twin a long time ago, and stuff like My Bloody Valentine and a lot of this British psychedelic stuff. And and I think Greg liked a lot of the stuff that I was doing with that band Torche that I was in, because I was doing a lot of that with Torche. Like Steve and Torche, he would write a lot of the more catchy Sabbath type riffs. And I'm the one that did more of like the Sonic Youth, My Bloody Valentine influence on it. So that's why they hired me. And then they had a tour set up, and I don't think they were able to, none of them really knew how to do leads or those type of tones. So they asked me to do the tour. But that's the only tour they've done. I think it's more like a recording project.
Correct. Yeah.
It'd be cool if they would go on tour. I mean, I would love to do, the level of touring that we would be able to do. It'd be something that I would be really comfortable with, maybe do some theaters. I like playing theaters a lot. Clubs I've been doing since I was a kid, and it's hard because none of them really have a bathroom. A lot of these theaters kind of have showers and stuff like that. So you're able to like, they have catering. So you'd eat a lot better than just, over here, the only options are like fast food on touring.
Yes,
or if you're smart, you would go to a supermarket and bring a grill with you on tour, but a lot of people don't even have enough room for just a backpack and their amp and their guitars.
Yeah. It sucks eating tuna out of a tin after a period of time as an alternative, which I know a lot of musos end up doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Did you get? I know you've played a show or you've done some touring in another band, but alongside of Danzig. So was there ever an opportunity for you with him?
With Danzig?
Yeah.
I thought he was really cool. I didn't talk to him till like towards the end of the tour, because he's always like, he's the type that doesn't really hang out. He's like, I guess he's busy doing the logistics or so. I think he handles a lot of it himself, to a point. And I think, the recording and everything, I think he just organizes everything. The other members of the Danzig guys, like when he was touring with John Kelly was really cool. I think we all hung out with him, and he's a Kiss fan and he likes My Bloody Valentine and all that. all the psychedelic stuff. I mean, you could hear it in the type of music. So, we all hung out with him, and he was really nice. And Steve sings really cool. And but then Danzig during like I got to speak with him during like a Bonnaroo event. Bonnaroo is like a big festival like that happens in Tennessee and in the East Coast and the southern part of the United States. And he performed, and it was really cool. And then we spoke afterwards, and he was just really, he was gentle. I guess after a show, it's weird because people get really amped up. So I guess he was kind of calming down. He didn't really have to like, I think, people expect him to be a certain way, like, "Arr." But he was actually, we were talking about art and music. And it was funny because I was with my friend Paul, who drove out to the show, and Paul looks like and Danzig told him, "Hey, you look like the Junkyard Dog," which was a wrestler from the 80s.
Yeah, I remember.
So he kind of and he liked my friend a lot too. So we kind of hung outside of the trailer and talked for a while. And I just thanked him for inviting us on the tour. And it was cool to hear the songs. And Doyle also did the tour. So they did the Danzig Legacy, which is a set with Sam Hain. Then they, the Misfits set, and then they would do the Danzig songs. So that was pretty neat. This is before they reunited too with the Misfits.
Is he still? Do you know if he's still touring with Danzig, or is it all Misfits these days with him?
No, he does Danzig tours also. Yeah. But I mean, he does some of the Misfits stuff. He does it like on special occasions. But man, I got to see the Misfits play at a soccer stadium. They were headlining this festival. It was some soccer stadium that Will Smith. I guess it's Will Smith. It's in California. And my sister invited me. And it was awesome because we had like box seats, and then I went down to the floor to go see him a little bit up close. But then when I was up in the box seats, it's like a higher level, and man, imagine seeing like multiple pits at a time. It was wild. It looked like a weather report or something like that. It was just like mock pits.
There's so much money in reforming these days. Mr. Bungle are touring Australia next month, and I'm going to go and see them. It's a very different Mr. Bungle compared to the one that I grew up.
It's definitely a thrashier. I mean, they have Scotty in, and the earlier, like I got into them during the first record, and they were like super funky, but also very jazzy. And it's funny, a lot of people don't realize that they the whole concept was like from John Zorn. John Zorn did a project called Naked City, and he did it with Bill Frisell, which is a really good guitarist.
Yeah.
Nowadays, he's older. He kind of looks like Dan Aykroyd, the actor from Blues Brothers. Yeah. But he when he was younger, he looked like Dan Aykroyd. So it's like, look at Dan Aykroyd playing guitar. It was pretty funny. But he was very smooth. And the older he gets a little bit more country-ish, and really like it's like a dreamy, psychedelic type of country, but it's also jazz at the same time. But Mr. Bungle had that Naked City style, that they would rip from one style of song to another. So it sounded like, like for the people that listened to radio back in the day, it's like you're turning the dial and getting all these stations at once, So that's what their sound was like. And that's Mr. Bungle took off from there, started doing that. So it was pretty cool. So, but now hearing it with Scotty in, and Dave Lombardo, it's like a total thrash band. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, I don't like that, to be honest. So I much prefer the Disco Volante self-titled stuff. I didn't rate California that much, the album California, that highly. But the thrashy stuff, there's 1,000 bands that do it probably better, to be quite frank, and European bands and whatever else that are doing the thrash. Like I just saw Creator the other night, for God's sakes. I mean, there's none better than Creator.
Yeah, Creator?
Yeah. When it comes to thrash, Sodom. I saw Sodom when I was in Miami on the boat. And
oh man, that must have been really cool.
Yeah, I actually caught up with Tom. Yeah, Tom Angel. It was great. Yeah.
Last time I saw Creator, it was they played at a place called the Masquerade in Atlanta. And the place is set up like a barn. It's like an old bread factory, but it's a lot of like wood stuff. And then on the upstairs is the bigger room where they have the 1,000-seater, 1,000 capacity. But the floor would sink down because it's an old building, and I was always afraid that I was going to collapse. Like I've been in the center of it, and I felt it move up and down when people go crazy. So I'm like, I got to get to it, like an edge part. So scary. But man, it was so funny because it was like they were playing like a farmhouse and they had the biggest light show I've ever seen inside of like a place like that.
Wow.
Like, German technology, it's just like the best lights, the best everything. It looked like it looked like a fucking alien spaceship landed, like a disco alien spaceship. Because it was just like the best technology inside like a barn.
Yeah, you're
really
right.
cool.
I did notice that their light show was exceptional, was next level, and I saw them at the Tivoli here in Brisbane, and In Flames was on afterwards, but I don't really vibe on In Flames these days because Jesper isn't in the band, and they're playing they've kind of gone back to the 90s sound that they had, but I much prefer their 90s sound. I'm not shitting on the band. They're entitled, like Mr. Bugle, they're all entitled to do whatever the hell they want.
I mean, we're just older dudes, so we're kind of jaded. We like the original. I mean, I'm people are like, "Oh, you're a metalhead," and I go, "Yeah, but like, what do you listen to?" I'm like, "Man, I haven't heard anything." I mean, it's just Celtic Frost,
Yes.
Old Maiden, old Kiss, like original Kiss before they went, before they got a little softer. I mean, because Kiss in the beginning were kind of like, they were considered kind of scary looking.
Yeah.
People are like, friends of mine are like, "Man, Kiss, I was made for Love You." They did like Gene Simmons looks demonic. You would expect like a heavy song from him. But in the first couple of records, the first Kiss and Hunter and Hell, what came out in '74, they had a fucking really cool dark image, like kind of early Alice Cooper, who there was kind of like the songs kind of had this weird element of like the Cooper, when he worked with Bob Ezrin, his stuff like $1 Billion Babies. It's kind of like a weird play. It's almost like Phantom of the Opera type darkness to it.
Yes.
And then Kiss were kind of like, they were kind of honky tonkish, but they also had a couple like freaky songs like Strange Ways, which was an Ace song, and also songs like She itself is kind of dark and moody, and it has like a bass, like this bass groove in the center of it. It's almost like a Scary Santana song.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, all that stuff, everything that I hear now, I feel like, you could kind of relate. You could hear the influence easy, and you just kind of want something original. Like the only new band I really like right now is that band Elder. They're from Massachusetts, and they have really cool elements of psychedelic, and then some of it's a little heavy, but not crazy heavy, and the voices are melodic. I feel that Mastodon are trying to copy that style, because Mastodon were super heavy, but then I feel that when we played with them with Torche, I think their whole sound just changed. They started doing more melodic vocals because the Torche stuff that I was doing was already was heavy as hell, but Steve sang really melodic and he harmonized too, and nobody else was harmonizing back then. So we played a show with Mastodon, and they started sounding like us. But I feel now they're starting to sound a little bit more like Elder. Of course, Mastodon's super original; they have their own style, but the influences, I hear it subtly, like a subtle influence.
I've got a theory that most bands, except for Iron Maiden, ironically, I know we bonded over Iron Maiden when we caught up at your shop, but most bands. So when I think of Mastodon, for example, they've got maybe 3 albums that are really good, and the rest of it you could probably give or take. Maiden have 5 albums, so they seem to have a limit. Like Slayer have the 3 albums, for example. Megadeth are a bit different. But do you subscribe to that theory that most bands only have 2 or 3 great albums in them, and the rest is just to keep the? I mean,
it's just sometimes it's just like a specialness. Like they're at their peak. It's hard, especially with the music. I mean, it's weird because music fans, they kind of like for instance, Slayer, if they try to venture off and do different things, most fans kind of get lost. They isolate their fans. They have like the Ramones, they have that formula that works for them. Each album could sound the same, but there's always like this special moment when they're like the right age. They play together enough, and creativeness, they're at peak. And it's just hard to capture that year after year after year. Especially, things change, sometimes to be together with four guys and have the same mentality, it's difficult. So people, they like Tom Araya. He kind of didn't want to tour that much. You could tell it, not saying his heart wasn't into it, but it's just like you kind of venture off. Your life takes a certain form. I mean, same thing with Metallica. Those guys, it's just like they're so busy handling this whole enterprise that it's just hard for them to kind of like, put as much effort into their creativeness, and sometimes it's just like, your ears experience fatigue. You had to handle a family, and you're supposed to be like a responsible father for these kids, and it's just like that takes a lot of energy. So it just takes away from, you're not the same 20-year-old that has nothing else going on, and all you can think is about is music and sit there and day after day, hours after hours. It's just like I think life kind of like shifts and everything like that. So I think that's why bands have like 3 or 4 amazing albums. I mean, is there a band that's had year after year like incredible records? Is there anybody?
Iron Maiden in the 80s is the only one that I can think of. For that entire decade, everything was golden. And as soon as 1990 hit, No Prayer for the Dying came out, and that was not good.
Yeah, and also the culture itself. A lot of people started dressing like grunge guys. They started sounding like grunge guys. I mean, Kiss too. Yeah. Kiss did a grunge record. They went from disco, and then they started doing like experimental, and then they went back to their sound like during Creatures of the Night, and then they did Lick It Up, and it was just weird. They started venturing off into Bon Jovi land, and then all of a sudden like the 90s came around, and Kiss tried doing that record Revenge, which was started leaning towards the grunge thing, and then they did Carnival of Souls, and it was like, dude, it's like Alice in Chains. So it's kind of weird for bands when the whole culture changed, because after a while they're like, well, we got to try to make a living, we got to continue keeping this whole industry afloat. And it's just like, it's just weird right now. It's a weird time. Like it's like you don't even hear any rock on the radio. No. The only bands that get any attention are like Foo Fighters, and it's the same band. They're like the token band. It's just like, we're gonna have an award show. Okay, we kind of need someone rock just for like, let's get the Foo Fighters. Yeah. They're horrible. So it's like a weird culture right now. Everything's rap. Everything's like dance music. It's like going through like the same thing that disco did. So now, but I'm wondering, are we going to get another Nirvana?
I don't think so. It's just it's impossible, because scenes are now internet based as opposed to geographically based. So you'll find, and the fashion houses find that too. So Gucci and whatever else, they don't pitch things based on seasons anymore. They pitch things based on which version of the internet you subscribe to, which version of TikTok, your which accounts. This is where they get their metadata, and this is where they're making decisions through. It's just amazing these days that we've switched from geographic borders to what bloody social media influencer the kids are following. That's what's happened. And in a way, I think some of these like younger guys are playing guitar, which is cool. But I don't know if, some of them are writing music, which is cool, and some of them are actually heading out on tour. But the majority, they're just sitting in their room, playing guitar. So they're like bedroom rockers, they're getting the companies to send them like awesome guitars, and they're like the first ones to get to play them, and it's cool. But could they write a song? Are they road dogs? Could they handle being on a tour? Right.
If
I know.
That's the only way for a lot of like musicians to make a living too.
It's a big issue what you just said, but you'd know because you're working in a guitar shop. Because do you see lots of people underneath the age of 40 coming in asking to play the guitars? Is that even happening?
I mean, what we get, South Florida itself, it's a very, it's a tourist town. It's a very retail town. We get a lot of people internationally. some of them are just there for the coffee shop, but then, it's just the area is very, it's a strange and unique area. And but we do get players, some of the players, that have been in Miami for a while, and just collectors a lot. But it's hard. We don't really see a lot of like bands. The only time we see bands come in is when for those cruises, those heavy metal and rock cruises, or jam band cruises. That's the only time we get to see them. So during the winter time, that's the only time they come down here. A lot of bands that tour, they do come down here, but only like when it's freezing everywhere else. Like right now, we're lucky. Like right now, there's sun outside. I can look out the window, and it's just like it's a nice, crispy, sunny day. Everywhere else is freezing, so that's the only time that we really get musicians come down, to check out the shop.
Yeah, Miami.
But it's cool.
Miami surprised me how cold it was. Actually, I thought it was similar to where I'm from, but it's a bit colder. It's probably.
Well, I mean, this is a strange time. It's usually even hot like during these last couple months, but now the weather's been changing a lot. Now like we've experienced a couple of cold days that people, like these friends of mine, came down from Baltimore, and they just came down with, it's freezing in Baltimore. And they came down with just like Hawaiian shirts and stuff like that, these punk guys. And they were like, last night we went out to this Food Network event, and it was freezing. They were like, God, it was fucking cold. I should have brought a jacket. Yeah,
it was a pleasant change for me, mate. It's been like 35 degrees here with humidity at damn near 100%. And that's when it's not raining. When it's raining, you know what the humidity's like. So we've just been hammered here. I live in the Gold Coast, which is a tropical, subtropical, bit of both these days. Subtropical in the winter, and in the summer it more turns into tropical, but it's really a subtropical latitude. But I was grateful to get out. Dominican Republic was virtually the same. I think like Hawaii was the switcher there was pretty same. Like, but we're still seasonal. We still get switches from winter to summer, and it plays havoc occasionally late at night. You know what it's like playing at night, and if you go from tuning it up and then you leave the guitar or the bass, and then you go back to it half an hour later because you had a break and it's out of tune, and the weather sort of does it, and so we do get a bit of that. But no, I really enjoyed Miami. I've got to say, it's a sort of. I'll be coming back next year, so I'll stop by in the shop again next year because I'll bring my wife over this time. Time, because I didn't. I got.
But man, you gotta see the rest of the states, man. I think for music, Atlanta, like where Mastodon's from. There's a band called Cloak that are really good. There's a cool scene because it mixes up. Like when I was living up there, I met Andre 3000 at a Marilyn Manson show backstage. We were all hanging out, and I got to talk to him. And I'm like, look at Andre 3000 at a heavy metal show. I thought it was cool. But then I ran into him at a Melvin show, and I'm like, this is even cooler because I love Melvins. Way more than Manson.
Yeah, I'm seeing them soon as well. They're supporting Mr. Bungle. So there you go. It's my second time I've seen them in 30 years. That was the last time I saw them. So yeah.
So it was cool to see him there. And I'm like, man, he's going out to shows. So that's why you haven't seen him in the rap world, because he's been hanging out at heavy metal shows. And then he did like this album that people are like, oh, I wanted to hear more rap from him. But he's ventured off, man. He's doing like Miles Davis, but on a flute type stuff. Yeah. And I think it's cool, man. I think it's cool. It's exactly like I was telling you. It's like, he did that great rap album with
Outkast.
Yeah, with Outkast, and now he's venturing off and doing cool stuff. I mean, from a record label type of thing that they're like want him to do the same stuff. He's like, he doesn't want to do that, man. He wants to just try different music. It's good for the soul, He doesn't want a formula. He just wants to be able to do what he wants to do, and I think it's great. A lot of people give him slag, but
yeah, he's an artist, and you're the second person I've heard say he's a pretty cool guy. Yeah, that's great to hear, and the fact that he's into rock and metal is just put him from here to here for me. Because we actually need people in that so-called urban music to be supporting rock and metal.
Yeah. And I mean that it could combine, man. I mean, I'm waiting for like a really cool like hybrid of like 70s funk, almost like that, or early Santana that's really tribal to mix up with some like groovy stuff that's almost like Fugazi or Black Sabbath. I think it'll fit. I mean, even Black Sabbath were doing funky stuff like that Planet Caravan that has like bongos in the background.
Yeah.
You know, even like, you know, like War Pigs. I mean, that's kind of groovy too. That the jump,
Yeah.
that's I can imagine a horn part on top of it. You know.
Yeah, so true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. At the
Maybe
drive,
I'll start that.
at
Maybe
the
I'll start
driving,
that.
go ahead. I mean, that's the thing. But I was just going to say, At the Driving went close. I think they were a band that combined, though. You know, talk about Fugazi and some of the funky elements, and there's even some disco in there. If you listen really carefully, you can hear the counterpoints because it's all offbeaty. You know, it's all that offbeat.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a disco thing for me. I know it comes probably from something earlier, but that's what popularized it. And I was devastated when they disappeared in 2000 or whatever it was because Ward, the guitarist Ward, I can't remember his first name now. I only just spoke to him recently, actually, because he's got Sparta and they're coming out, and they all seem to be on good terms, so they're just not playing music with each other anymore.
It's just I think like I said, Cedric became a dad, and you know, it's just hard when you become a father and a touring musician. I mean, there's guys that tour, and when they come home, like they're gone for like a year and a half, and they only get like little like 2-week breaks or so. So they're gone for like 4 months. They come home, they see their kid, then they're gone another 4 months. They come home, and then their kid's like a total different person. Yes. So they don't see the progression of the kid growing up, and it's important to be around your kid. You know, you have to guide them. You're the one that's in charge of like cultivating their mind, you know. And it's hard for a touring musician to do that, you know, to have like a real life, you know. You're constantly on the roller coaster.
Yeah, I think you've nailed it.
I think that's what
it was.
Yeah, and then Cedric had twins. I think they're twins, and it's just, you know, it's hard, and you know, it's hard. And I think he just wanted to do the right thing and be there for his kids, you know.
Did you like Mars Volta as well?
Excuse me?
Did you like Mars Volta as well?
Yeah, I thought they were cool. I thought they were really cool because I heard the Miles Davis influence. I heard the Santana influence, like the 70s funk influence. So I thought it was cool. And he sings incredible. Cedric has a really incredible voice. You know, and it was cool because when he was at the drive-in, I remember when they came to Miami one time, and there was only like 10 people at the show, and but they were all so nice, and they stayed with our label at Space Cadet Records. So it's just fun to see at the drive-in, like with only like 10 people in the room. It felt like you were like, holy shit, these guys are about to blow up, and you're like, you have this privilege of seeing them and being able to experience. It's kind of like that first Sex Pistol show where all the guys from Joy Division were in there. It's just same thing. Even like Green Day when they played in Melbourne, Florida during the Kerplunk tour. This is before the Dookie album blew up. Like I went to see him, and there was only 25 people at that show. And when I tell people that are like hardcore Green Day fans, they're like, "No fucking way!"
I bet that was cool back then.
Yeah, and then you get to talk to them and you know, and kind of relate to them. Like when I first, you know, went to that Green Day show, they were playing with like what's a Hare Krishna hardcore band that were in Equal Vision Records?
Shelter.
They were like touring with one of those bands, and it was a weird Green Day and Shelter.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a weird combination. And nobody went to that show. It was like in Central Florida where nobody really goes to shows. And then we like before the show, I was looking at their gear, and Mike, the bass player of Green Day, comes up. He goes, "Oh, you want to check out the bass?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll check it out." So he handed it to me, and I strummed it a little bit. I'm like, of course, I talk shop with him. But he was really nice, man. Mike from Green Day was really nice. And then after the show, we ended up going to a Waffle House, which is like a kind of like a diner franchise. And we ate Waffle House with Green Day. It's not too many people get to say that they ate pancakes and waffles with Green Day. So that was
they were
cool.
a great fucking band back then, mate. They were. I stand them these days. I think it's garbage. But back, Dookie was genuinely is a very, very good album. There's and to me, it's a rock album. Like the punk, more Discharge and that sort of stuff. To me, Dookie is just a straight up rock and pop album.
Yeah, I mean, I hear like elements of Cheap Trick. I hear a lot of, British influence. Of course, his voice sounded British, so he had an accent when he sang.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely that early Buzzcocks and stuff like that. Like
the bass is Bruce Foxton from The Jam. Have you made that connection? That's what. As soon as I heard it, I was like, because I like The Jam and Bruce Foxton's playing especially because he's about the only plectrum player. Because I play with my fingers, he's about the only plectrum player. He and David Ellison I really like, and I think they're very tasty and they know what they're doing. And Bruce, I think he's coming through town soon, so I definitely want to watch him. But I think I was in Miami when the opportunity to catch up with him over the phone, tour interviews and preparations, and I didn't want to take it and do it at an odd hour, like 4 a.m. or something like that. So hopefully I'll be able to catch up with him soon, man. But I've got a list this long of questions I want to ask him about his bass playing.
Yeah, that'll be cool. That'll be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I appreciate bass playing, man. It's a lot of people. It's weird because in the old records, it was kind of hard to hear as a kid. That's not, like there were certain bands that the bass was like, it stood out. Like I call Steve Harris a lead bass player. He's like, it should have on lead bass. That's what I think it should be on the records. Because I mean, his sound just stood out, but a lot of other bands didn't really have it. It was kind of like in the old stereo systems, they were just kind of muffly, and you couldn't hear the nuances. It wasn't until like, till you were able to afford like a better system that you could hear the bass playing and the dynamics of the songs. Before, I mean, we would listen to music on like little cassette players with a cassette with one speaker. And it was just like the speaker, when you would turn it up, you would blast it and it would just like distort. And same thing with like little Walkmans. Walkmans, you would turn it up and the cassette, the treble was like crazy loud.
It was like that too. Remember Discmans? Remember the Discmans we all used to have?
Yeah.
And like you listen to like Frankie out of Anthrax is a monster player, but you could never hear him on those Discmans. But then when they started re-releasing vinyl and you could start to hear more, I don't know what the surround sound effect, I don't know, it's not surround sound, but with the proper headphones that you wear and stuff. And even with these things, these AirPods, they're very good too. You can actually hear what he's doing and it's like, he knows how to play.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's made me appreciate bass players a lot more. It's just like there's moments where you learn more music and you record yourself and you kind of figure things out a little bit more. I mean, sometimes it can take away from like the mystery, but sometimes it's just like, it's cool to know what's actually going on and how they did it. Like where you could hear like certain like hidden things in the music, like, like Eddie Van Halen when he did that Atomic Punk. I mean, it was just cool because you could hear the palm of his hand doing that scratchy sound. And people are like, how does he do that? He's someone that you can listen to the records for ages, for your whole life and find little things in each song, little hidden gems,
Was he your principal influence not influence, but inspiration when you were a kid?
Yeah. I mean, I loved them. My first, of course, was Kiss, because when you're a little kid, I mean, just seeing Kiss, it's just like, holy shit, what the hell is this? Like when I first saw a poster of Kiss, like I didn't hear the music. I was just like, I went to Venezuela, which is one of the neighboring countries to Colombia. I was living in South America, and I was walking with my mom, and I think I must have been like 4 or 5 years old. And we were walking through downtown, and I looked in the window. There was like a shop with the door open, and I peeked inside, and you see this Kiss record, and it was like, I think I might have a book with the actual photo.
Hmm.
And I remember the photo. It was weird. It was just like, let's see. It was from one of these photo shoots. Let me see. Let's see if I find it. I saw the photo and I remembered it because then we got to the United States and I was like, what is that? Why are these people dressed like that? I only have a small version of the photo, but if you could see it,
Yeah.
that was the photo shoot. Here's a bigger photo blown up, but these are all different photos from that same photo shoot.
Yeah.
And this is, who was it? Barry Levine. He was the photographer. He's the one that took this famous shot of them.
That's really good.
I have a bunch of Kiss books. I have a bunch of books behind me, art books and everything like that. But
Yeah.
I saw that when I was a little kid and I'm like, what is that? And then I got to the United States. We moved with our whole family to the United States. And I went to a friend of my mom's house and he had a 16-year-old son. And I walked by and I'm just like a little kid walking by, like 7 years old. I'm like, walking through a stranger's house, like, wow, this is kind of cool, And then all of a sudden I heard music and I walked closer to the music and the kid was 16 years old and he was playing records in his room. And I walked in and he was nice. He's like, come on in. And dude, I saw a rack of records, like a crate. And I was going through the records and I remember seeing, it's so weird because I don't even remember 2 days ago, but seeing these records for the first time, vinyl. And I saw Black Sabbath, Heaven and Hell. You see the angels smoking cigarettes. I was like, what are they smoking? What's in their mouth? And then I saw Ted Nugent, the record where he's sticking his arms out and they turn into guitars.
Yeah.
Like they morph into guitars.
Yeah.
Was that Live Gonzo? I don't know. I forgot the name of that record. But I saw that and then I found the Kiss records. Like oh, those are those guys from that poster store. And he had a bunch of Kiss records, like the early ones, like the 75 Dress to Kill, Rock and Roll Over from 76 and Destroyer from 76 and Love Gun from 77. Those are the records I saw in his collection. And he noticed that I was gravitated towards them. And I was like eyeing them like this, like looking at the vinyl, like, whoa, this is cool. And of course, Love Gun has all these like half naked women and Kiss and, with great bodies and Kiss makeup. It's like a painting, by Ken Kelly. And I was like, whoa, look at these women. And he's like, and I guess he was 16 at the time. And by the time people were like, this was like 1979, like people that were his age were already getting out of Kiss, because they kind of went a little disco and they're like, they kind of gave up on the band. A lot of people gave up on Kiss at the time because they isolated their fans. Because they changed, like we were talking about, like if Slayer changes, then they'll lose a fan base, most of their fan base.
They did Dynasty. I remember.
Yeah. So
I don't remember, but I remember. I know what you're talking about. Yeah. It's
yeah. I mean, in Australia, people love that, but in the United States, a lot of the kids they ventured off and they started getting into like Aussie. Aussie became their new thing, and Maiden became their new thing, like their new favorite band. Kiss was kind of like put aside. So he gave me all these records because he was over it. But to me, it was just like the beginning for me, So I got these records and I brought them home and I'm like, my mom had a record player and she had like old Rolling Stones records and stuff like that. I'm like, Kiss. And then, of course, their records brought like really cool stuff inside, like either posters or like little cutout things, like a toy gun and the Love Gun and stuff like that. And then I would put them on and, you listen to it for like 15 minutes and then I would flip it over and then I would just keep on flipping it over. So I would listen to the record like for hours, the same record for hours. And then I would pop in the other one. And it was just so exciting to have the music coming out of the speakers and you fell in love with it. But then visually, it was so stimulating. So it was a good combination of everything, the visuals and the sound. And this is before like MTV was around, so that's what you had. You had your imagination to kind of come up with stories or like these guys are on a different planet. You didn't think you could play guitar like them because you thought it was just like a special breed of aliens that were able to play music and be in a rock band at that level.
Yeah.
It wasn't until like an uncle of mine, my aunt met this guy who was a guitar player and he had a Les Paul already. and he would let me hold the guitar, and I would just strum it and stuff. And that's when I knew, like, oh man, you could play this yourself. You could, like some punk players, they're like, all right, I could play punk because that looks easy. You know, some of the metal stuff was kind of difficult. It was like you had to be a certain level of musician to be able to play, like, like Bruce Dickinson or Adrian Smith and these guys.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So the metal thing was, you had to be a little bit on a more sophisticated level of playing to do it. But it was cool. I held the guitar and I'm like, now I want a guitar. And I got a guitar when I was 12, and that's when I was able to like figure stuff out on records. And back then, like now you have YouTube that you could actually watch a video and slow it down and be able to figure stuff. Before, you would have to like play a record and put your finger on it and stop the part that you wanted to try to learn and then reverse it like that, like, and then get back to the part.
Yeah.
It was a little bit more difficult. You definitely have to use your ears a lot more.
Yeah, I remember buying tons of Guitar World for the tablatures. And playing along to even songs I didn't like. And I actually credit that. But what I really appreciated was when the British magazines in particular used to bring out a CD and teach you how to play lines.
Yeah.
Do you remember those ones? Like Total Guitar, whatever they were. And I've still got some of the CDs, and they turned me on to tons of killer musicians that I would have ignored otherwise. Like, for example, Phil Lynott and his bass lines. I mean, he's not known for his killer bass playing, but he's a very slinky bass player. And you listen to
like Gene Simmons in their early days, they're both similar. They used more walking lines in their early days. And dude, and Phil, I mean, he had to sing, like his level of singing is incredible. But to be able to carry it with the bass underneath, I mean, that's a Geddy Lee type talent, Yeah. A lot of people don't give him credit, because they hear the guitar harmonies, but he was a solid bass player, and you could hear it a lot, even when they did the more metalish stuff like Thunder and Lightning. What year did that record come out? In like 81 or 82?
Thunder and Lightning, I'm not sure actually. I'll have to look it up. But it's
that's when they had, what's his name, John Syke on guitar. So that guy was a shredder, man. And that Thunder and Lightning song, it's like fucking. It was so fast, and it had like 3 solo sections. They even had like a keyboard solo section. It's like fucking incredible record, man.
83 to your point, but
83.
A couple of years ago, I was that close to interviewing John. It almost happened. It was booked, and
oh man,
and then something happened with regards to the schedule, and it was a bit like the Blackie Lawless thing. If you've ever, I do this obviously, and with Blackie Lawless, you've got to go through about 3 or 4 gatekeepers before you actually get an opportunity to talk to him. And I think it was a bit like that. So he was selecting, and I understand that. Otherwise, you get people who probably ask the same old questions that he's answered 1,000 times. And John is, I don't know whether it's not fair to call him a recluse, but he doesn't grind a lot of interviews. So when he gives them, you want to make sure that you're actually asking the questions that haven't been asked before.
Yeah. I mean, to do an interview sometimes, like right now, what we're doing, this is like so relaxed because it's just like, it's like you're talking to a buddy or something like that. So you you relate, like, and it's so cool how I met you, because you were where I work and you were wearing a fucking awesome shirt. And that's the funny thing. That's how metal people, they from across the room, like, oh, this guy's into cool shit. And that's how most of my close friends that I've had for like since I was a teenager, it's because of music. I've been able to bond with them over music.
I think I grew up in the wrong country though, mate. I got a lot of mates in the United States these days, and I go over there and I feel right at home, to be honest with you. And then I hear about the stories about L'Amour's in New York, and I've got people who sent me messages and they tell me what like they actually were going to the shows constantly and saw Megadeth in 85, and I would have been in heaven, to be honest with you. Yeah. Because we didn't get shows here. They didn't happen.
Yeah. When I moved to Atlanta, I lived in Atlanta for 10 years. When I was playing with Torche, we moved up there because we were touring so much, and to get out of Miami to even to reach the Georgia state line, you have to drive like 9-10 hours. And it's like that's why a lot of bands don't come down here. But when I moved to Atlanta, it's just like Atlanta's like a main hub. They're going through the Carolinas, and then they're on their way to New Orleans, and they always stop in Atlanta. So I was able to see a lot of my touring buddies, my tour mates, and from different bands, and I get to see them. And every single weekend I would go. I'm not like a heavy drinker. Like I would go to bars, but it was mainly to go see a band or to listen to music and hang out with people.
Yeah.
But over here, you could, in Atlanta, there's a lot of venues that are actually restaurants in the front, restaurant bars, and then you walk in the back. There's a venue, like a place called the Earl in Atlanta, which I loved a lot. I would go there a lot, and dude, it was just fun to see a show like every weekend because it gave you, it made your weekend a lot sweeter to be able to see something that inspired you. I mean, that's the one thing, with music. It's just like, especially like getting older, you feel like, oh, well, you already listened to this style of music and stuff like that. But it's the only thing that you could find something you could dig in. You could find a group from like the late 60s or 70s that was doing something special in another side of the world. And you're like, holy shit, I just discovered something for the first time. You could still do that with music. You still get that same level of excitement,
Yeah, it's a single upside with Spotify. To your point, I was just listening to a Genesis live album from 1974 today because I work from home. And mate, that is just epic playing. Unbelievable playing. And it's proggy, but it's dark too. I didn't realize it was as dark as what it is.
Yeah. It's definitely very cinematic, very like a movie soundtrack, which I love a lot. I love movies a lot. And it's funny because it's Phil Collins, it's like, it's like the same guy who did Suzu Studio, which I love that song, but it's just like, it's such a dynamic. Like a lot of people don't realize that a lot of these older guys that are kind of corny, they're big because when they were young, they had something very cool going on, That's why digging into people's older catalog is awesome. Like, for instance, another example is like Vangelis, who did the Blade Runner soundtrack. He did a lot of stuff. He won an Oscar for Chariots of Fire, which is a famous song that they use for tons of commercials. But back when he was younger, he was in a band called Aphrodite's Child, and they're awesome. They're weird. They're like hippie-ish weird, but there's a song called The Four Horsemen that they have. And it's fucking epic, man. It's a really epic. I don't know if you've ever heard them before.
No, I'll check it out on your recommendation.
Check out the song Four Horsemen, man. It's really cool. And it's in the production, it's just like, is this a new band? Is this something that came out like in the 80s? Now these people are doing it in the late 60s, early 70s. So that's what I love about music, that you can find something from a different culture and enjoy it. And if you're open-minded, you're just going to get like, it's like an awesome feast for your brain, Yeah.
And look, I'm finding that too. I really love a label from Oakland called Sentient Ruin, who do just extreme and underground stuff. And they do a lot of stuff from South America in particular. And there's a band that sounds a lot like very early King Diamond called Shadows from Chile, from Santiago. And
I got to check that out. You write that down.
Shadows, yeah.
Is there a specific record that you recommend?
Yeah, they've only got the one out. Yeah, I think the guy was in Apostasy, which is a famous underground band from there. But the name of I bought it on CD, and I'm going to get it on vinyl in a sec. But the album is called Out for Blood.
Out for Blood.
Yeah, I listened to that. That was the only album that I listened to during my whole trip over to Miami. And I must have listened to it 20 or 30 times, and it is unbelievable. I had it on yesterday again, and it takes you on a journey. Those albums that take you on a journey, and it's classic old school heavy metal with the guitarist reminds me a lot of J.K. Lee, like that real, just got that fine touch, and the South Americans to me have always got a great sense of like they take you on an odyssey. They're good storytellers with their music, with their albums. And I reckon that album's probably the best metal album of the last decade.
Yeah.
And
it's true about the South Americans. I mean, like the early Sepultura records were kind of like that. There's a really cool band that I want to give a shout out to. TM Machines.
Okay.
They're from Medellin, Colombia. They're pretty cool too. They're kind of like a death band, but they have really cool technical stuff. They're cool. Everybody check them out.
Yeah. I just
And
think they're
then,
more serious, the South American bands, because there's more at stake because it costs a lot more to be a musician and to put on a show, and instruments cost a lot more, and it just seems to me
yeah,
as though
my friends have to they have to find places to be able to play. Once in a while, there's a festival, and they pair them up with bands that don't really that really, they don't really match with the bands, and it's weird. It's just like they'll play for all these people that don't really care about the style of music. So that's, same thing when I did a band called Cavity here in South Florida. They're kind of like they've gone through more guitarists than Chili Peppers have.
yeah.
The bass player is always changing his mind about band members. He's like, he gets something going, but then he's like, nah, I want to change it up. And in a way, it's kind of cool, but like all these musicians played with them. Like I played with them, like I think 98, 99. I did a record called Late and Significant, and it was with members of Floor. Anthony from Floor played with them, and it was cool. And it was cool to play with them, but nobody liked them down here. Like we would play clubs, and people were like, "You guys got to stop. You guys got to turn it down." And it's a band that needed to be super loud. To kind of like My Bloody Valentine, when they have like all these amps on stage and they're this like giant soundscape that just hits you. Well, that's how Cavity was too. They were just like crusty and heavy. And down here, nobody like this. We would only get the same like 50 to 100 people come out to the shows. We couldn't go beyond that point. But then we got invited to do this festival at Gilman Street. This was the club that all these bands like
Operation Ivy,
Operation Ivy and Green Day would play a lot there. And we did this this Fiesta Grande festival, this Slap a Ham festival, and we went out there and we actually played in front of like 600 to 700 people, and it was fucking cool because people actually loved the music. They were going buck wild for it. So it kind of felt like, oh man. It kind of gave a sense of worth to what you were doing. And that's the thing. It's just like when I've always played like weird experimental versions of rock, and it always felt like nobody really got it. But then, when I was able to tour the world, that's when I realized, man, what I do is kind of like important. People really love it. And it might not be at home, but you travel to the other side of the world and people like were familiar with your music. That kind of like, it felt pretty good. It felt like, all right, I wasn't just like playing guitar for hours for no one to really care.
Yeah. Which band have you done the most touring with?
Probably Torche. Torche, we did a lot of touring. I was with them from 2004 when we first put the record together. And that's when I finally was able to do like another level of touring, that we would tour, not just really cool venues, but also like with other bands that were doing like unique stuff. Like we toured with Boris from Japan, which are a very unique band, heavy as hell too, but also very psychedelic, kind of like Pink Floyd, like the Echoes era, like Live on Pompeii. It was kind of like, it was like touring with fucking Pink Floyd during that time. Also, we toured with Mogwai, and those guys are very cool, and they're very, they're just very, their sound is very sophisticated, very beautiful, and just an incredible group of guys. And back then, like when we did the tour with them was 2008, or 2007, 2008. I mean, those guys were like, most people think heavy metal dudes party hard. These guys were, we couldn't keep up with them, man. Those guys were like fucking hardcore fucking road dogs.
Yeah. Yeah, I have it on very good authority, mate, that the hardest drinking and partying band that most bands have ever toured with, who could never keep up with them, by the way. And you've already mentioned the band is Cheap Trick.
Yeah.
Apparently they were they probably still are, but they were absolute animals. You couldn't deal with it.
Yeah. And it's hard, Yeah, and I think let me see, who else did we tour with? That was pretty cool. Then when I got into Monstro, we would tour with Clutch a lot. We would do a couple of different tours with Clutch, and Clutch are really cool. They have the whole vibe down there. They're kind of like, they have this really cool, unique cult following. And the cool thing with their fans is that they accept the bands that open up for them because they know Clutch picked their own bands to tour with. It's not like some other bands that they have some like weird band. You know, they're like, oh, give us $50,000 and we'll tour. You know, you could tour with us. You know, Clutch picks their own bands, and the same thing with Tool. But the Tool fans are not really open to their opening bands. Like I remember Melt Banana toured with them, and people couldn't really grasp the Melt Banana from Japan. They're fucking incredible. But people, I think the Tool fans kind of, oh, we're like open minded to shit. You know, they weren't really accepting of bands like Melt Banana. I hope my friends, these guys that this band Trans Am. It's funny because they did a live record and then they included a DVD, and it's so funny. They did this like intro to the DVD. They're like, you see, they're playing obviously like a giant arena because they were opening up for Tool. But in the video, it looks like, you know, they didn't say they were opening up for Tool. It just looked like they were playing a fucking arena, and that was their audience or something like that. And they pan the camera pans, and you see all these people and stuff. And then the next clip, the next edit, it's like them backstage, like stretching out, getting ready to go out there and fucking, you know, we're about to fucking blow up the stadium, you know, this arena. And then they do the huddle, and they're all like, you know, they're all like talking to each other, you know, like bands like before a game, like a soccer, like a football player or something. They're like, all right, guys, you guys ready? And it shows them going out there, and then they go out there, and then they show the performance. But then at the end, it's obvious that it's not their arena audience, because all you hear is a giant, like fucking wave of boos, like, boo, you suck. And they put that on their DVD. It's like, it's funny. The beginning looked like it's just like, it's like they're about to rock this awesome show, and at the end of the song, immediately it's like they get booed. But they're humorous. So
yeah, there's three bands fans that I try to keep away from, and the bands in particular I keep away from. Don't mind their music, or well, Metallica's one who I can't stand these days. But as I say, Metallica's one, Rage Against the Machine and Tool. Their fans are just idiots. In my experience, they are so focused on the band, and apparently the Jesus Lizard are one of the, you know, the Jesus Lizard, right? An amphetamine reptile band. One of the greatest bands ever, in my opinion. And when they toured Australia with Rage Against the Machine in '96, people were booing Jesus Lizard. Mate, the Jesus Lizard are 100 times harder than Rage Against the Machine will ever be.
Yeah.
Like, they are the epitome of a hard-hitting, no bullshit rock and roll band, the Jesus Lizard.
Yeah, they're
probably
like witnessing an intense storm.
Yeah.
You know, sonic storm.
Yeah, but the fans booed them. The fans booed them, and it was just, it's just nuts. And like, you go to, or in the '90s, you go to the festivals, and you always notice the people who wore those three bands T-shirts, they were the ones, in my experience. If there was going to be trouble, you'd see them starting the fights or what have you, or they weren't people who were used to being around a lot of people at festivals as well.
Yeah,
and I saw Metallica when they came through Brisbane about 14 years ago, and they were shit. Honestly, I don't know how Rob does it. He's the only guy. I like Rob a lot, and I'm seeing him with Infectious Grooves next month again. There's always bands coming through town, and I love Rob's playing, but I just don't know how he puts up with. I know there's the money, but still, you got to deal with all the bullshit.
Yeah, the one recent show I got to see that I enjoyed, Metallica, but it's just because it was like a special set list. They did like a friend of mine hit me up, and he's like, because he's part of the Metallica fan club, my friend Brian Walker, and he's like Metallica's coming into town. He sent me the flyer, and it's like they're doing a tribute to Johnny Z, the first manager. Yeah. He's and you know, I was reading about Johnny Z, and he passed away. So I was like, and I guess his family lives here in Florida, so they did it at this place, the Hard Rock in Florida, like this giant theater. And the set list was just from the first two records, because Johnny C released the first two Metallica records, and I heard, and I was reading that he tried shopping them, like he paid for them to trek across the United States, like a 4-day trip in a U-Haul, like in a moving truck. So they must have been in the back with no lights at all, or maybe like a flashlight just pointing at the wooden the inside of the cargo thing. And they went over there. He paid for the recording. I guess he sold records at a flea market, and then he had his own record store. And then he heard the No Life to Leather cassette, and he wanted them to record a record. So he drove them. He paid for them to cross the United States. They got there. He paid for the recording, and then he tried shopping the recording that he did, and nobody. I remember when I first heard Metallica, and I liked them because they were like different, but not everybody liked Metallica. It was kind of like how people, like some heavy metal fans, viewed like black metal or something,
exactly.
When grind metals first came out, they're like, "What the fuck is that?" They couldn't comprehend it. And that was the same thing with Metallica, because back then everybody liked Whitesnake, or the heaviest thing they listened to was Maiden, maybe old Black Sabbath, but Black Sabbath were more like a groove band. They were more like funky, like we were talking about. But Metallica was just like buzzsaw, and they're like, what's that guitar sound? They couldn't comprehend the and it was just weird. Like he had a hard time getting a label to invest into Metallica. So I guess he put up his house, and he was able to finance the first record and started his own label. So that's a tribute Metallica just did to him. And they played songs from the first two records, which to me are the best. I mean, I love Master of Puppets, but I think Ride the Lightning's more a record that I love the most. I think it was a tremendous jump from the first Kill 'Em All. I mean, I love Kill 'Em All because of the Motorhead influence and everything like that. But Ride the Lightning was just like, holy shit. Like songs like Fight Fire with Fire, Ride the Lightning, Trapped Under Ice. I mean, these songs are just perfection, and to hear a whole just Metallica play those songs. I mean, Lars, he's not, I mean, I can't say anything that everybody's already said, but it was just cool to hear those songs, out in the open, them performing it.
I would have loved to have seen that. Yeah, the people complain about the bands that go out and do one album tours and play an album from start to finish, but these bands just know their audience. That's the key. Yeah. And nobody's forcing anybody to go along to these shows. It's not like, I think it's great. I would love to see old British grind bands, Carcass, playing their old albums front to back instead of mixing it up. Just because they're the albums that I liked. They're the albums that are in they're up here. They're like, Ride the Lightning's up here. You can't unlearn it because it's here. It's like riding a bike. It's stuck. It's not going to go away anytime soon. And
I mean, how many records nowadays? Because people, just say that the track listing, most new records, people just know a song and stuff like that. Or they, it was funny because when CDs came out, people are like, "Oh, song number 4." It's just like, dude, it has a title. Learn it.
Yeah. Hey, random question, adjacent though. Did you ever get in a Manowar?
Manowar, yeah, Into the Glory ride. It was funny because I knew this kid from Brazil. I met him here, and he ended up moving back to Brazil. But then he came back to the United States, and he brought me a cassette with Ride the Lightning. And on the other side was the first time I heard Yngwie Malmsteen. That Rising Force fucking blew my mind.
Yep.
And he also had Manowar, and he taped it for me, and it was Into the Glory ride. And dude, it was cool. I thought it was cool. And I kind of like that they use, like Boris Vallejo artists, because, like I said, most of these books back here are art books.
Yeah.
Boris Vallejo, he was kind of like a Frank Rosetta, like from that same school. A lot of people think he copied Frank Rosetta, but I think he has his own style too. he would do a lot of the Manowar album covers. So I thought that was kind of cool. It's just, those guys are unique. When they did that "Blow Your Speakers" song, like people are like, "Wow, these guys really look like that with loincloths and stuff like that." It's just like,
The furry.
dude, I think it's cool because they're different. Not everybody did that,
Yeah, I really like Ross Friedman. Ross the boss he goes by, but I've had a bunch of conversations with him and messages and whatever else, and he's a really cool guy, man. And
Yeah,
he doesn't get along with the other guys at all, as you probably know. Like he doesn't. Like Joey effectively kicked him out of the band. Joey DeMaio effectively kicked him out of the band because it was like competing for the leadership of the band.
yeah,
They started the band together, and they sucked when he left, as far as I'm concerned. Like I
yeah,
wasn't into them back then, but it's easy to get the albums and go, okay, so the albums with Ross on them are fantastic, and then when they get, is it David Shankle and then the pedophile guy, Carl Logan?
yeah.
You know about that? It's horrible, and
I didn't know about that.
yeah, Carl Logan's a pedophile. He's in prison for it. I can say it. He's been convicted and everything. So
Oh
he's
shit.
it's horrible, man, and that's
Being a dad now is just like holy shit. It's like when you become a father, you become more sensitive to news like that. Some people just hear it, they're like, "Oh, fucking pedo." Dude, when you hear it, like, fuck, man, I gotta keep those fuckers away from my kids, man. It's a scary fucking world sometimes. People like and it comes from like how their parents treat them. It goes through generation after generation of fucking being treated like shit, man.
yeah.
And then it accumulates to the fucking like a serial killer or a pedophile. It's a fucking weird world.
I can't
But
stand this attack on the nuclear family that's happening at the moment. It's like it's the fact that you've obviously got a wife and you're married and got children, as I do too, and the whole idea that kids shouldn't be raised in a nuclear family with a mother and a father present is just completely wrong.
yeah,
Crazy.
definitely. I mean, it's very important. Like I grew up without a father. I've never met my father, but I could feel the emptiness. Like I could feel the void of not the importance of having both. I could, it's just in a way you kind of like, because sometimes fathers, they might not be as sensitive to what their kid needs, but sometimes they
Mm.
kind of like they help them be a little bit stronger of a person, of a character,
Yeah.
which is important too. And it's just like, you have to have you have to have the balance, the sensitivity, the female side, and then the fatherly side, which is kind of, but now, like, I mean, now, like, it's reversal. Now women are a lot stronger now too. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just before, they kind of use credit cards back in the, what is it, 70s or 80s,
Hmm.
and then they couldn't vote till like the 60s. I mean, here in the United States. But now, like, they're running the ship, and now they're doing it. Some of them are doing like, they're doing a good job at like keeping shit together.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
just
it's
think
just,
it's where you can, obviously, things happen, but like, just the way I'm still Catholic, right? So I still have a lot of those values, being Irish Catholic, and
yeah,
I still, from the perspective that we don't even, I'm not saying we go to church or anything like that, because we certainly don't. But it's the methodology of wanting to bring kids up with two parents, and it's not easy, as you bloody know, mate. Meaning, it's like
it is, because the whole once a kid's born, the whole dynamic changes.
Oh, I mean, it's tonight. Our youngest is going through hormonal changes or whatever. So she's 8 going into 9. No, 9. She's just turned 9, and she's school friends and stuff. And there's all this dynamic at play, and we just cop the attitude. But you got to. That's the thing. You can't get angry at them because they're not actually in control, and they don't have the perspective that we have as adults. So
I mean, even into my 20s, I'm like thinking about my 20s, just like, you kind of still walked around with your with your head in the clouds. It takes a while for you to be able to have a better perspective of what life really is.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's great that when you're younger, your body's fresh, and your mind is strong. You have a better memory, and you have a lot of fun, and you have these amazing moments. It's very important to have that, but also, to have a sense of responsibility and knowing that some of your actions could lead to something else, could lead, like if you're a careless person, you'll definitely hurt somebody else, or you'll mess up their life, like kids driving around drunk or something like that. It's just like, I've had friends of mine that have lost their lives because they go out and party and their cousin decides to take pills, and they drove into a tree at the end of the night, and it's just like, fuck, man, this guy could have had a fucking life. He had a promising life, and he just ended up like losing his life because of a careless moment. They don't understand that.
No, they don't understand consequences, and that's why where possible, like it's always optimal. Like it's the way I'm framing it. It's always optimal to have the parents around because, like tonight for us, it was a bit difficult. So we tag team. So one parent can't do it. You can't, like they can. It's not that they can't, but it's always easier if you got two there. And there's that yin and the yang of the male masculine energy. Like I can always get just me in a male voice. I can always get. It sounds like I'm angrier than my wife.
Yeah.
Because I'm a male, and you don't want to overdo it either. But it's a bit like
No, but you got to have a sternness in your voice. That's the thing.
Yeah.
My daughter's mom sometimes feels that I'm like, oh, you don't scream. I'm like, I just raised my voice, a little bit. I didn't scream. I'm like, it's time to go. That's it.
Yeah.
And she's like, why are you screaming? I'm like, I just said, we got to go. You got to be sharp, because sometimes, they won't listen. If you're like, oh, honey, we got to go.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
They don't listen. You have to be like.
And how often are we saying we've got to go to daughters, right? Daughters never do things on time.
Yeah.
You've always got to crack the whip, metaphorically speaking, mate. Otherwise, you don't get out the bloody daughter where you need to go to.
Yeah. But what I do love is that, right now, because of the environment we've been giving her, it's like an open environment. She's, of course, she has to do her school stuff, but right now, she's being raised, and there's like 10 guitars in the house. There's a bunch of pianos in the house, and she's picking them up, and she's musical. Like, I would play music to her when she was a little baby, and dude, she's getting into music way before like I got into it. She's already learned how to sing on her own. She already knows the dynamics of songs, like when a chorus is about to happen, like a build up to like a chorus or a climactic part of the song. She already sensed that, which is cool. I didn't know how to do that when I was a kid. She's 6 years old and she's already getting it. Like, I'm kind of like, man, this is cool.
That's cool. Yeah.
It's a great way to bond. Like, if you could have a hobby with your kid, something fun that you both enjoy. Like, we play a game called Copycat, where I'll just do a guitar run and I go, you try it now, and she'll sing it. So now pretty soon I'll be able to do it. Like, she already knows notes. At 6, it's like, and then, now we're going to try to do it on piano. I'm like, play this on the piano. So it's definitely very cool. And imagine, you're an old man and you could play music and you could sing songs with your kid. I mean, that's a great way to be able to like have your final years in life go.
Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah. Believe me, I've tried, bought guitars and drums and all sorts of things, but my eldest daughter's artistically inclined. I've told her about you, and I've shown. I was actually wearing a T-shirt the other day. I was going to wear it tonight, but then it's in the bloody wash. So I've already worn it a couple of times back. So, but I've told her about you, and she loves drawing art. I don't have any to show you here, but she knows Christian really well. My mate.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great way of meditation, man. It definitely keeps you balanced. Playing music, painting. I mean, I'm lucky that I've been able to like venture off and do both. And it's cool because doing the music, I've been able to, do album covers for myself. And then I've been able to do, t-shirt designs and album covers for other bands. So it kind of like it's helped me out being a musician and transitioning into an artist also. It's a very cool thing because it's just like I got lucky because I was playing music and I released records and I've been able to meet other people that like art also. So they've hired me to do their t-shirts. And it's weird, through stuff like Instagram, I've been able to have like artists that are not really in the realm of what I do, kind of like Skrillex, that electronic kid. I know he was an Aphex Twin fan, but I know he was also like an emo kid back in the day. And he saw my artwork online and he hired me to do a t-shirt design for him.
Shit,
And
that's
then,
awesome, man. That's cool.
yeah. And it's just like, I mean, I like electronic stuff, but I like more like the experimental stuff like Aphex Twin and Square Pusher and CFAX Acid Crew and the older like Prodigy stuff. And of course, like the Brian Eno stuff, the ambient stuff, and like, Roxy Music, who Brian Eno started doing like weird synth stuff with. So I like that type of stuff. But to have somebody to do, somebody that works with Justin Bieber, ask me to do a t-shirt design, I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool. It's kind of weird, but it's cool.
That's cool, man. No, that's great. No, Skrillex has been on record as being a rock and metal fan. So
yeah,
I mean, that's a great association. And a lot of rock and metal fans actually like his music too.
Yeah. Yeah. But man, Richard D. James is like, I don't know if you ever got into Aphex Twin. That's his name, Richard D. James. A lot of people are like, oh, I like that band, but it's not really a band. It's one guy.
Yeah.
He goes from what I love about him is that he had certain albums that were really melodic, like, and almost like classical music, like his early 90s stuff. Hold on one second. I'm getting called. Let me
go for it.
Hold on, accept. Let me see message. All right, tell me if I'm back. Okay, I'm back.
You're right. No worries. Yeah.
Some of his stuff's like modern composer stuff, and it's really cool. And some of it sounds like weird, like psychedelic Japanese music. He just has and of course it's like movie soundtrack stuff, which I love. It's like that Shining soundtrack with all these like weird synths and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I loved about it. It was a cool shift, because I mean, some of the music in the 90s and 2000s kind of got a little bit boring, and being able to find him, like discover him and enjoy his back catalog and everything like that, it was very refreshing for me as a musician to listen to, and it actually helped me develop trying to play along with some of his songs, which is sometimes nearly impossible, but it's cool. It kind of broadened my horizons. So
it's a challenge of it, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a cool challenge.
Yeah. You mentioned Brian Eno a couple of times. Did you get into that U2 collaboration called Passengers?
Yeah, I had it on CD. I liked it. I thought it was kind of cool. It was kind of weird. There's certain songs I really liked. I know there was a couple of videos that I enjoyed too. I mean, I loved the early U2, and I liked them up till Suropa. I thought Suropa was kind of cool.
Yeah,
and even Atun Baby, that was kind of cool too. But the early U2, they were kind of punkish. I liked them. A lot of people don't kind of forgot that they were like that. Kind of like the same thing with Elton John. It's just like. Yeah. The newer stuff's a little corny, but dude, if you go back and listen to some of these people's early records, they were amazing.
Yeah, it's all bar music. A lot of that's early Elton John stuff, but the YouTube stuff, to your point, we've just agreed, I think, to play Pride, and because I play in a covers band, so we're going to be playing Pride from now on, I think. And
that song's incredible. It's an incredible song. The whole record's really cool. They have a song called Wire, and the intro reminds me of how cool it reminds me of the same feeling of when I first heard Mean Streets from Van Halen, that whole fucking robotic sounding like weird fucking guitar intro that goes into the song that solo Eddie Van Halen does. Wire has a similar feel. It's just like percussive thing that he does with the guitar and the delays. where it becomes this fucking crazy loop of rhythmic stuff. It's hard to describe. I don't know how to describe it, but you got to hear it. And that song Wire and that same, I think it's on the same record, Unforgettable Fire.
I think it is. Yeah, I think it's fine. Yeah.
That whole just fucking, it's really cool. Like the Edge was doing some really cool stuff, and that's what kind of got me into the more, using delays and heavy choruses and making it sound like a swarm of bees, like just flying around. That's how I describe music, like with visuals.
Yeah. I got to say, I can't stand U2 these days. They're just done. They've had their moment in the sun. I did go and see them in 2016 or 17 when they did a stadium tour, and I hate stadium tours, but I figured it'd be the last time that I saw them, because I did see them on the Achtung Baby and the Europa tour when they came down, and that was one of the best shows I've ever seen.
Oh man, that must have been awesome. I've seen the live footage of it.
It was unlike I can't compare it to anything else, because they had the cars upside down, and they did like a backstage thing where he turned into Mephisto, the devil character that he used to do.
Yeah, that was kind of weird. I thought it was kind of cool. Did they show? What did they show? Footage of him backstage putting on the makeup and
correct. That's exactly what it was. Yeah, and it was. But they were just. They deserved every accolade that they could get back then. But then they did that stupid iTunes thing where they downloaded all of their songs to almost a billion, or not a billion, but hundreds of millions of devices or whatever it was. And they haven't written a good song in, they're like Metallica, man. It's approaching 40 years now. Really.
Yeah.
It's been, or 40 years. It's certainly 30 years.
Yeah, because I think it's just like they expect, they kind of they're forced to write a hit song when you have that type of pressure. You just write this like bad jingle commercial type thing, That's what it sounds like. And it's funny because I hear U2 every day, because that record that they forced everybody to have on there.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah,
it just pops up all the time. I get in the car and sometimes, and it's like, do I really know this record? Because I hear like little segments when I'm like, I get in the car and I'm just like in a hurry, and I don't really have time to like select a song on my phone. So I just hear it in the background, and I'm like, and then I hear my daughter singing it because she's already learned the whole record, and I don't even know the track listing. It's just like certain songs pop up from that record, and it's so weird. It's just like it's in your subconscious, but you're like, but do you like it? It's like a weird thing with that record being in the thing.
Yeah.
And it's not that good, but the songs. Because they
magic there. I agree with you. There's definitely something intangible and magic about those four guys when they play music together. And I felt it when they toured in the last one, it was probably 8 years ago or whatever, but I felt it when I was surrounded by, tens of thousands of people in a bloody stadium in Brisbane City. And,
dude, I mean, because those older songs, I know they did a tour that was the whole Joshua Tree tour, and that fucking record is fucking flawless, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you might not like U2, but it's got a fucking unique feel. That record has, and they worked with Eno on that, and what's it, Daniel Lenoir?
Mm-hmm.
He was also one of the producers, and he's the one that was able to kind of like get the Edge of style and turn it into something else, like even more cinematic,
Well, they had, in my view, they had three and a half albums. Rattle and Hum's a bit of an EP sort of a setup, but I like the early stuff, but it's not really my thing because it was a bit before my time. But Unforgettable Fire, Joshua Tree, Rattle and Hum, and then Achtung Baby are unbeatable. They're fantastic.
Yeah.
And if that's all you've got from them, that's all you need.
Yeah, that's all you need. You have like a whole lifetime of satisfaction with just those records. And it's funny because like I saw guys like, Death Angel. I really love that early Death Angel. I always thought they were cool. A lot of people didn't like
Tim Durkin, man. Yeah, good
the sassiness in their sound. But man, the guitar work and the songs from like Frolic Through the Park and even Act 3 and Ultraviolence, I mean, it was just really cool. And it was cool because they were like, they were from a different culture, you know. I mean, I guess they were a Bay Area band, but I think some of them were related. They're Filipinos, right? So they had this cool, like Asian look with
Oh, Death
long,
Angel.
fucking
Yeah.
awesome hair. And, of course, I'm still a hair dude, a lot of grays now, but, I always been a fan of long hair. I always thought it fucking looked awesome, like Native American, Indian, Asian long
That's
hair.
cool that you got it. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember the bass player or one of the guys in Death Angel had a fucking old school U2 shirt, and I thought that was fucking cool. I liked that I liked when metal bands had like different type of like music T-shirts. I know the guys in band Cynic. I know they were big fans of Missing Persons, and the relation of Missing Persons. They had Terry Bozzio, who played with Frank Zappa. So it's just, it's like this fucking cool relations, like little relations to it. And it's like, all right, these guys are fucking, they get it. They know that there's more out there than just like the generic metal, world that it could sometimes be. It could kind of like, it could be like the same formula, same uniforms, as different as a lot of people want to, they try to make themselves be. It's still like a lot of them are part of a formula. And it's cool to see like somebody like, like for instance, when Metallica, when those guys started, when they were wearing Misfit shirts, like they were the first. I mean, I don't know, some people say that they already knew about the Misfits. Nah, man, Metallica brought Misfits to the masses, and you got to give him credit. Fucking Cliff Burton fucking was unique. He fucking wore a Misfit shirt. He was wearing Leonard Skinner, Blue Oyster Cult t-shirts. The guy was like, the guy knew his shit. He's the type of person. He was like the magic behind Metallica back then. That's why they're probably not the same, I mean, a lot of people question if Metallica would have been different if Cliff was still around. That's like, I think they might have been, at least for a couple more years. They probably would have had better stuff.
Yeah, way better, I'd say, because he wouldn't tolerate some of the music that they came up with through Load. James has acknowledged that. He said there's no way, for starters, Cliff would never have allowed there to be 2 albums to be released like that. He just would have said, pick, I'm paraphrasing here, but pick the best songs that you got and put them on the one album, then we'll work on the next one whenever we can. As opposed to two very weak albums where you can hear the shit songs on there. There's some absolute garbage on there, like Ronnie, that are just blue. They sound like the sort of barroom blues that, those talent nights.
Yeah.
I've never done one, but you see them on YouTube. and some dude turns up and I've got this cool riff. If everybody wants to play along, it sounds like that. And they have been like that for a long time, man, where their music sounds, it's not cohesive. They don't.
Might have been like the drugs and the alcohol, man. James is going through a fucking, I mean, when you're young, handle a night of partying and every night for like a tour, dude. But when you reach your 30s, it just turns into full alcoholism. And, you don't fucking care about the fucking music because you just want to fucking get trashed. I think it might be that, I mean, he still played great, but the songs written didn't, I don't know. It also had to do with like the shift of taste in music. They had to survive the grunge years. They all cut their hair, and it's funny because Megadeth followed along. They all cut their hair. I'm like, why are you guys cutting your fucking hair? Why are you guys wearing flannel? Fucking black. That's all you got to do. Just fucking wear black and have fucking massive long hair. That's the fucking look. That's the attitude.
Yeah. I know there was. I'm trying to think of a band that got through that period relatively unscathed, and there are bands that kind of did, like Creator, but even they had their so-called alternative moments. But Sodom were no. I think Sodom even went weird for a while there. They had some pretty strange album covers and stuff like sumo wrestlers and pregnant women on their album covers and weird shit, just bizarre stuff really that seemed adjacent, but it seemed like as though they were lost. Some of these bands and I can't think of a band. Maybe Megadeth were close. I love the John Bush era Anthrax better than the Joey era. Much better, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I'm
gotta go back and
on
listen
that
to it
one.
because I never really like at that time I was already into like Sonic Youth and British like shoegaze and even some of the Britpop stuff. I was into like bands like Pulp and stuff. So
Yeah,
I
I
kind of
was
like I
too.
didn't
I
really
liked them back in the day. Yeah,
yeah, and I didn't never really gave those. And I liked his personality. Was it John Bush? That's a singer.
yeah, yeah. It was
Yeah, I mean, I liked him in interviews and stuff like that, and I thought he was somebody that I would like to hang out with. That's what I like, but I never really gave those records a chance. I mean, I saw the video on MTV, something White Noise or something. What was the name of the?
that was the album Sound of White Noise. Yeah, but they had Hypro Glow and Only and a few others. Black Lodge off
Yeah,
that album,
some
and then
stuff was cool, but
yeah,
I was so used to like thrash, fucking upbeat, fucking punk feel Anthrax. But they wanted to try something different. More
yeah,
power
they
to
became a
them.
rock band. They didn't go new metal or anything like that. They actually became a very. It was strange. They went from thrash to becoming heavier, but a rock band. They're the only band that managed to do it, and a lot of that. Scott Ian's got a great wrist. He's just right in it, right in on it, and Charlie's such a great drummer. To your point early on in the chat, and they came up with some fantastic songs, but they didn't have solos on them, and a lot of people didn't like them for that. But I thought they were better. It was just you can't account for taste, right? Sometimes that happens, and you go, "Well, I'm going to go along with this." And then when they got Joey back, I just thought, I'm not. That's it for me. Like
Yeah,
I don't think you go backwards. You've got to keep them going forward, and I don't think those albums, King of All Kings and Worship Music, I don't think that they're better at all than what they were doing with John. The John stuff gets unfairly maligned. I don't know why. Somebody somewhere forms an opinion, and then some of these people, sheep who don't form their own opinions, go along with it. But those albums from Stomp 442 and Volume 8 in particular, so 95 and 1998, I think they're crushing, man. They're brilliant albums.
yeah. I'll go back to him. I do like Joey Belladonna though. A lot of people felt he was a little too melodic for the band for their sound, but dude, he sings pretty fucking awesome. He's good. Um, Spreading the Disease, fucking great record.
Yeah.
Also, you know. And when Among the Living came out, I thought it had a cool feel. I didn't really like State of Euphoria, and I think that's what when they started kind of losing the touch. But then I just heard an interview on YouTube that they kind of felt they rushed that record. They were like
Is
forced
that
to
with
like put that.
Indians on it and stuff? Is that State of Euphoria? I had one that I played to death. I had to look it up. Um, I
What are
know
you talking about? You said Indian something?
Anthrax. Yeah, you know how they got the song Indians, Anthrax?
Yeah.
And is that on State of Euphoria or is that what album is
No,
that?
it's Among the Living.
Among
Indians
the
are
Living. That's
yeah.
that's probably my favorite Joey album. But it's a bit of a paradox. I love Joey when he did his solo material. Did you ever check that out?
Which material?
His solo material. He did two solo
No,
albums.
I think check it out.
It's very, very good, man. It's
Damn,
groove.
I'll check it.
It's groove metal. So
And
Pantera,
is Joey Belladonna labeled as Joey Belladonna, like solo?
correct. It was released through. He was signed to Mausoleum Records, so an underground label, but he had very, very good players with him. Excellent players.
Man, that's cool. I'll check it out. Thanks, man. You're
Yeah,
giving me a lot of material to listen to, man. Thank you.
yeah, it's cool, man.
From
Yeah,
across the world, man.
that's
I
where
think
it's from.
it was like 9,000 miles we're apart from each other, something like that.
Oh, it took me
Crazy.
22. It just the day after we met. I think it might have been that night. I can't remember now, but I had to fly for 22 hours. Man, it was brutal. I hated
Yeah.
it. I had to
Yeah,
go
and
to
I can't sleep on planes. I don't know if you could, but I can't sleep on planes, man. I get so
Right.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, like being in an airplane to me is just like such a weird thing, man. you're like in a tin can all the way up there.
And we like when you fly to Australia from North America, you fly over Challenger Deep, and that's like the deepest part of the ocean, and you can see the bloody thing below you when you're flying over the top of it. So if you go down, you're gone, and it's this surreal, almost. What's the word where you? I've got to be honest. I don't have a fear of death. I've gone through a few things, so I don't have it anymore. So I'm welcome the next journey, whatever it is. But I don't want to die in pain either and die drowning and stuff. So, what's that? Oh, I can't think of the word where you think about your own mortality, but you do when you're flying, and you're just aware that you're on this vessel with all these other souls, and you're relying on the 2 or 3 pilots that are up front and what their communication.
Yeah, you definitely go through all these like existential moments.
Existential, that's the word. Yeah, that's the word. Sorry. Yeah, great word. Yeah, and and I just watch. See what you know what I do. I don't sleep either. So you know what I've got because I've traveled a lot. So you know what I do. I catch up on all the Oscar-winning and the classic films only.
Yeah.
So no modern ones. I watched Vertigo and a couple of others whilst I was traveling.
Very cool.
Because I wouldn't have the time to do it here, right? So I've got the kids and everything else going on, and Vertigo is one of those films that I always wanted to wrap my head around, just understand a bit, and I was able to do that on the trip.
Yeah.
So that's
when I flew to Australia, we during that Killer Be Killed tour, I watched a Nick Cave documentary, and it was cool that they had it on the plane, But yeah. Movies is what keeps you calm during the thing. It's funny, and I tried doing a mellow music, like an ambient playlist to keep me chill during a flight. But it's funny, I have to listen to thrash music. I listen to the Rain and Blood record maybe like 5 or 6 times on flights, because it's gotta be like this. Because it kind of it gels with like the feeling, the tenseness that you get while traveling. So I tried it, and there's a moment where the turbulence ends, and I'm like, all right, I got to turn off the music. This ambient shit's not working. I'm like, so put an Angel of Death, and then it feels like you're in a fucking Viking ship when the turbulence, starts taking over. You're like, yeah, let's go.
We must be similar, because I downloaded a bunch of synthwave stuff, and I thought, well, yeah, that'll keep me calm and stuff. It's like I work to synthwave playing in the background, and Philip Glass and these composers like that synth music, like Vangelis, a bit more upbeat. And I tried to listen to some of that on the flight, and I ended up putting on that album Shadows that I was telling you about, and I listened to that a couple of times, and that was perfect. Just had the right balance between melody and heaviness for me to. What I discovered though, these bloody AirPods barely they work on airplanes, but you can't hear anything properly. I need the over the head ones like these ones. To hear things properly in the airplane. They don't work well there, even with the noise cancelling. I can attest to that, because I couldn't hear the detail that I wanted to. And when I arrived in Miami and I was in the Airbnb, I was doing some work and I had the AirPods in and I was listening to it, and I was like, this is perfect. Now I can hear everything going on.
Yeah, but then your ears, the pressure in the plane kind of shift your ears into like different positions or something. Yeah, definitely.
You're probably right. Yeah.
Dude, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
It was great meeting you, man.
Great meeting you, man. So hopefully you'll be able to come this way, or I'll be, or vice versa.
I'll definitely be over there in January, February next year. So I'll come. Yeah. I'll hit you up anyway over socials or whatever to let you know. But
and for those listening, thank you so much. And check out my Instagram so you can see some of the art and some of the guitar playing. It's at Montoya, Montoya, Black Magic, all together. Montoya Black Magic. Keep in touch.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gents. Another conversation done and dusted. That one featured Juan Montoya, a superb guitarist and musician and artist from Miami. All right, if you like that chat, there are many more just like it over at scarsandguitars.com, and the website has expanded somewhat. There are tabs for the Cradle of Filth conversations. There are many, and there are a couple of irons on that front in the fire as well. So look forward to that. I'll post them sometime, hopefully soon. But 70,000 tons of metal. That was the catalyst for my introduction to Juan, and there is a tab on the website where you can dive into all of the chats. I'm talking about Tigers of Pantang, the Inhuman Condition guys who are members of Deicide, Venom Inc., or was a member of Venom Inc., Obituary, Death. Yeah, it's all there. If you love heavy metal interviews, this is your one-stop shop. Rock as well, of course. Love my rock and roll. All right, that's it from me. My name is Andrew Mackay Smith, and I'm the host of the Scars and Guitars podcast. Until the next one, it's a goodbye for now.